took some pictures of Robert's engine internals. We showed you the block before that, so I've installed the Arp Precision crank. We talked about that. Let's move on to what's presented onto the bench here. So that's just the box that it came in. Obviously, this is the piston compression ring tool, which is pretty ideal. You know, it's chamfered down so that when you fit in the pistons, it just, you know, the compression springs down, keeps them all compact where they should be, and then a little push down with your thumb, bang, into the cylinder. Really easy. Then the band that you ratchet up and all that sort of stuff, old school. Whatever you prefer to use. I mean, that's nice and simple. We prefer that to medium.
Yeah.
So as you can see, so we've got Milo Pistons. These are 88 mils, so they're 0.5 mil oversized because we wanted the bores to be brand new. And then we've got, you got to jump in, your circlips, the horrible circlips, which we're going to have to fit to me and struggle and make sure we don't, you know, stab our thumbs and all that sort of stuff. So we've got all the rings. I've already gapped all the rings, so you've got the oil rings, you get your top ring, secondary ring. I've already gapped them in the cylinder, all done. They're all within tolerance, which is good. We've got all the tolerances from Milo on whatever application, whether it's turbocharged, supercharged, race, or whatever. They're usually pretty good. You don't usually have to make any adjustments if the bores goes in they're correct, which they are. And then we come on to the these beautiful tom rods, Arp Precision ones. You won't see anything like this. This is what I use when it comes to the ARP 2000 bolts, but they are beautifully finished, work of art they are. And this is the same as what we put in Phil's, going in Robert's, same as what will be going into Richard's over there. Derek's, which is coming over from Ireland, so that'll be the build number 4. We use the same system because it works. Right, this is the first time we put an Arp Precision crank in. Phil's hasn't got that with the Arrow rods. So the Arp Precision cranks are available from ourselves. So get in contact and then price on application. Give us a call, or whatever, and then we'll let you know about prices on the these certain parts, whether it be the rods or the pistons or the crank for that matter. Okay, that's classed as a fast road crank, by the way. So what we're going to do now, Timmy, is and the other thing which we have, which I don't know how many people use this, so this is, we use a ARP stretch gauge. All right, let's turn it that way to stretch the bolts, you know, to make sure that they, you know, stretch them rather than torque them. So I don't know how many people use that. The gauge is quite expensive. It's like, I don't know, 200-300 quid, that gauge. But with the, especially if you put in stocks rods in, run the mill car, standard rods and pistons back in, then you would just use the normal data from Ford with normal bolts and just torque them up. But something like this, when you build something like this with specific precision rods like that, you need to do it properly and you need to be stretching them, not torquing them. So that's what we do. So it's a bit of a long-winded process. You've got to, you know, take them up to a certain level, and then you've got to check the stretch on it with a stretch gauge, and then if you need, then you've got to do it again, back off and do it again till you get to the right stretch thou, which will be here, which on this particular application, so on all the Arrow, is that one there, look. That's the rod bolt that we're using. So it needs to be between 0.0055 thou to 0.0060 thou. Torque, not recommended, right? Obviously you've got to use some sort of, whether it be a torque wrench or a breaker bar or something like that, to get some sort of load on it, and then you need to check it with a stretch gauge. So you could be taking that on and off 3 or 4 times on each bolt on the get, you know, so you're timesing that by 8. So it's a bit long-winded, but you have to do it properly. And that's how you'll get a failure occur. If you don't do it to stretch what Arrow say, then who knows, you know, you've not carried it out properly, because that's what they recommend how to do it. So that's what we do. So normally it says 48 foot-pound. So I would normally, I don't know, we would just like, you know, like first stage would be doing up to like 30 foot-pound if we're using the torque gauge. you know, torque wrench, or we could use just a normal bar, and then we would put the stretch gauge on it and check it, because you need to put the stretch gauge on it first and zero it out, and then do it a few times afterwards before you get in that zone between the 5.0 and the 6.0. Then we know we're correct. All right. The other thing, which always good practice, if you wanna reuse these bolts, they're stretch bolts, right? You can, but you need to make sure they're in a certain tolerance. So basically, you need to be taking a reading of the length of the bolt before you even install it while it's unstretched. Take a reading of that, make a reading of it for whatever build you're doing, keep it on a file. Then if you wanted to reuse them, you take them out, and then you've got the before and after length, and then it has to be within a certain tolerance to reuse them or in the bin. So, I mean, I don't know how much they cost. If they're like 100 and something quid a set of ARP bolts, you might want to try and reuse them, but you won't know that until you check against before and after. So that's that side of it, Timmy. We need to crack on and get these rods, you know, the pistons on the rods, don't we?
Yep.
And then we can start assembling it. So it's all very, very time consuming. You can't just chuck it in there, and you know, it's quite labour intense. So let's crack on. I think I've missed something, Timmy. We've talked about what we need to talk about.
Yep.
On there. We'll do that, and then we'll put the Piper, the valve spring kits on there and talk about that. But this application is going to be the same. We'll just be repeating this on Richards, the same thing. All right. So it'll be the same thing, which is on the bench in the same process. I'm just waiting for the crank to come for Richards and the rods. But like I said, all available from ourselves. So get in contact whatever way you see fit, and then we'll you know, we can have a chat from there. But yeah, our precision crank, superb. Like I said, 4 kilos lighter. Balance shaft delete, the pickup gear sprocket's gone, and the counterweights are they're just remachined in a lot less of it, to put it that way. All right, but yeah, catch up soon. Right, so a long, painstaking job this. Right, so this is just built the first piston up with the oil scraper rings up, the first and second compression rings. All right, now there's a certain way that they go, you know, opposite where the ring gap is, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then the oil scraper rings, they need to be sort of like, use just 3 of them. So you've got the actual sandwich there, look, in the middle. Call that a sandwich, compression sandwich, shall we? That sounds good today, doesn't it? Mm. And then you've got the actual metal rings above, one below. So they've obviously got gaps in them, so you can apply it onto the piston. So they just need to be away from each other, not all the same. So like, you know, that one's there, that one's over there, that one's over there. So like 1, 2, 3, yeah. So that's the first one we built up. The share clips are, yeah, they're challenging to get in. Mm. You got to be careful not to, you know, it's inevitable you're going to just scratch the piston when it's no big deal, you know, just when you're with a tool that you're trying to get them in there, you can't, it's impossible. So, but yeah, that's all done. We mark them, you can see like number 1, 2, 3, 4, all right, and then we mark all the caps. So what we'll do now is we'll build up all the rest of the rings on each of the pistons. That's that out of the way then. Then we'll put in the big ends, maybe the King Racing ones, and then we can start dropping them in the cylinders and then put them all up to me. Yep. Then we've got the painstaking task of stretching them. So this is why it takes so long. It's not you know, you can't just, oh yeah, we'll build that in a few hours. Impossible, no chance. All right, so here we are. So see you soon.